Hey everybody, today I want to talk about something that I haven't talked about before, and it has to do with kidney disease, especially in cats. And this is something that was talked about a lot when I was working in vet clinics, and probably not as much as it should have been. And it's interesting, I'm on a Facebook group, Cats with Kidney Disease, and of course it's heartbreaking to hear all the different stories. And for me personally, it's hard to hear or read people who their cats have renal disease, and the last thing they would do is feed a renal diet from their veterinarian because they've heard so much from social media. So that just breaks my heart. But I just fight the battle as best I can. But that is not what this video is about. This is about no matter what diet you choose to feed. And hopefully we need to control phosphorus and things like that. So you need to make a diet change. And there's lots of low phosphorus cat foods out there. You can Google it. A few of the brands that I've reviewed had low phosphorus. But this is about what's called food aversion. And it affects renal patients, especially cats, a lot. And the worst thing is when I hear somebody trusts what their vet says and they want to feed a diet that the vet recommends and the cat won't eat it. So this video is about how we want to try to reduce that occurrence from happening and how we deal with it. Okay, so let's just jump right in, and I hope it's helpful, and I hope that the veterinarians that are on this channel chime in, because I often say the comments from my videos sometimes are more educational than my videos, and that's fine, that's great. But this is something everybody that has gone through it, chime in, let me know your opinion, let me know your experience. But what do we do with food aversion when it comes to cats with kidney disease? Let's do it. So we have to go back to the mid 80s when I first started with Hills, and I would go into vet clinics, and I would see it, when I got in the back room, all these different shelves of all these different canned cat foods. There was Friskies and Nine Lives, and just about every kind you can imagine. Certain clinics just had tons, especially large clinics that had 4 or 5 veterinarians. And of course, I would be so frustrated. Now I was brand new rep, didn't know a whole lot, to be honest. In the beginning, I was still being trained and learning all about renal diets and kidney disease and all that stuff. And I would just get so frustrated to see, why are you selling, grocery foods that have, high mineral content and excessive phosphorus and excessive protein, just the opposite of what you'd want to feed these renal cats, because that's what they would tell me. Well, that's for the renal patients that are hospitalized here. And it didn't make any sense to me until, again, live and learn, right? And what I learned, especially from the seasoned veterinarians that really had learned, the ropes, they said, well, when we get a renal patient in, if they're in uremic crisis and they are hospitalized and they're feeling terrible, and, think about it, if you think about what the cat is going through, very traumatic, they're feeling terrible, they're being poked by people they don't know, they're in a cage, it's just a bad experience all the way around. And then you're feeding them this food, and you're feeding them a renal diet, diet A, renal diet, because that's the food the veterinarian trusts and really wants to get this cat on. Well, many veterinarians told me over the years, and it makes sense to me, and not all veterinarians do that. So maybe if you're a vet and you watch this, you're like, hey, I never thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense. And for you cat parents that, many of you are going to, unfortunately, sadly, are going to deal with kidney disease, this is something you could bring up to your veterinarian when they mention, hey, we're in stage 2 or stage 3, whatever. What you want to do, this is key, the food that you want your cat with kidney disease, especially if they're in uremic crisis, the food that you want them to eat long term, don't feed it to them right then. Just like the clinic that had all those different commercial canned foods, when we want them on canned, everybody I think knows that. We could have a big argument over dry renal diets, even though over 50% of renal cases are going to be on dry, because the people either can't afford canned, or their cats don't like canned, and the renal diet in a dry form will perform amazing. But it just makes sense, especially for renal patient, if we can get them to eat the canned. The added moisture is just another added benefit to reduce the risk, or to reduce the workload on the kidneys. So we're all in agreement. Canned would be great, but you can't turn dry food. Dry food causes it. You can't feed a dry renal diet. Sorry, the facts just show that that's not true. But just for argument's sake here, I don't want to get into that argument. We're going to go with canned all the way through this, okay? So what they would do is they would feed Fancy Feast. They would feed anything that will get this cat to eat. And those of you that know this, that have had renal cats, or you know of renal cats, one of the key things is we got to get them eating. That is so important. The muscle wasting that's going on, everything else they don't want to eat. It's just critical that they eat. So the problem is, if you feed them diet A, that renal diet that the doctor really thinks is the best option, he's just had more experience with that one, it's worked great for him, that's the one he wants to use. If he puts that cat on that while they're hospitalized, even if they eat a little bit of it, they're going to go home, and when you go and feed them that food, all they're going to remember is, ooh, wait a minute, that food associates with those mean people pricking me all the time, and being in that cage, and how scary and noisy it was, and how terrible I felt. I felt terrible when I was eating this food. So guess what? I don't want that food. It's called food aversion. It's a real thing. Many of you have probably been through it. I only went through it once when I was getting the flu. Didn't know it at the time, but I went to the movies, had a big thing of popcorn, and that's right when the flu hit me. Okay, so my body thought, aha, the popcorn caused the flu. And I couldn't even smell popcorn after that bout with the flu for, months, if not a year or so. Other people have had even pregnancies. They don't even have to be, feeling sick. But my wife, we're big coffee partners. We'll go out and hit coffee shops and things like that. It's one of our cheap date things to do. And while she was pregnant with all three of our kids, she couldn't even smell coffee. If she even walked in a room and could smell it, she was sick. Okay, so after the pregnancy, for a little while, she would still have that aversion when she'd smell it. It's like, oh, wait a minute, okay, I guess I can have it. So I'm sure many of you are thinking of things. I can remember as a kid, ginger ale. I only got ginger ale when I was feeling sick. I had a lot of stomach issues. All my stress as a little kid was in my GI tract. That's just the way I was when I was younger. Not so much that way anymore, but I grew out of it. But the point was, my mom would only give me ginger ale. The only really soda I got was, especially ginger ale, was when I was sick. So as an adult, when I started seeing ginger ale other places, I would just stay away from it because that's medicine. That's when you're sick. And then I would start drinking, and I'd be like, oh my goodness, I would drink it, and I liked the taste of it, but it would just bring back all those, I feel sick, blah blah blah. So food aversion is real. So for those of you that have a renal cat, it's hard enough to get them to eat. What you really want to do is get them eating anything but the food you want them feeding long term. And some vets will do this. They'll say, okay, we're going to get her eating. When we get her home and she's feeling a little better, then we're going to slowly introduce her to this renal diet that we want to keep her on. Okay, does that make sense? Really critical to the success of getting them eating a diet that's perfect to manage their disease. I don't care if it's a prescription diet or a vet diet from Royal Canin Hills or Purina. I don't care if it's a over-the-counter low phosphorus food. There's a few of them out there. I don't care what it is. If you've decided, hopefully you've worked with your vet on this, and you're not doing this just with social media, but you've decided this is the food we're going to go for. Don't feed it right away while she's feeling ill. Wait till she's starting to stabilize and feel a little better. And especially, again, to the veterinarians, you don't want to be feeding it in clinic and then sending them home, because you're just setting them up for failure, for food aversion. Many companies, now I've seen Hills do this, I've seen Purina do it, some of them, even a few that I've seen online that say they're low phosphorus for cats with renal conditions that I'm not familiar with yet. I haven't really looked at their numbers, but A few of them I did, and they did in fact have low phosphorus. And there's a lot more to the diet, but at least they're low phosphorus, and that's critical. Many of them will give you a sample pack. They'll give you 3 or 4 versions of their food. You know, the tuna version, the beef version, the turkey, the chicken. Okay. The mistake a lot of cat people will make is they'll go home with that kit. I remember Hills had one for a while. I don't know if they still did, but at all the different forms, there's lots. If you combine Hills, Royal Canin, and Purina, which I feel are really the best options for renal cases. Um, Between all those 3 brands, there are so many varieties of their renal diets, from pate to stews to dry to whatever. Um, there's probably something in there that your cat will eat. The mistake is, don't open everything up and make it this big buffet and see what she'll eat. Okay. You open up one, go with whatever you feel you want to try. If they'll eat it, you're done. You are, man, you're there. Okay. You want to save those other flavors, because it could very well be over time that they'll get tired of that food and want something else, want something different. Now you've got more options. If you just open them and introduce them to all those different flavors, again, you're just playing your hand, too soon. You want to save those so that maybe you can use those later. Does that make any sense? So if you open one and they're just not going to eat that beef one, okay, then we know beef is out, at least for that brand. Let's try the chicken. Oh, look at that. She loves it. Okay. Save all the other samples for just in case you're going to need them down the road, because you may, as the disease progresses, or just the cat gets tired of it. You don't want to just go back to whatever. You want to stick with those low phosphorus options. Okay. I remember Hills, and this wasn't too, I guess it's been a while now, but it was kind of funny, or funny, whatever you want to call it. But Hills KD, kidney diet, I know it well. Maybe I'll put the video to KD. I'll put in the description here. So if you are watching this and you want to learn more about the Hills renal diets, right, I guess it applies almost to all of them. I'll attach that. But they had a real problem with the dry not being palatable. Now, I've been doing this a long time. I remember the day where when it came to veterinary diets, it was just Hills. I think Waltham was around a little bit, but Royal Canin wasn't there. Purina wasn't anywhere near making veterinary diets. So it was pretty much Hills. And the palatability, the technology in those days was so, call it primitive, whatever. But you had about a 50-50 chance of a cat or dog eating prescription diet. I mean, it's just, that was the truth. I mean, I think those of you that are old enough to remember those days, I remember, we'd send them home with it and be like, oh, please eat it, please eat it. Those days are gone. I mean, now especially with renal cats, it can be tough. Like I said, I watch that when I read the Facebook groups. Many times people will say, my cat won't eat any of those renal diets. So I know it's still a challenge, but it's a whole lot better than it used to be. Okay. And don't assume they won't eat it. Don't just say, oh, it's a renal diet, they're not going to like that, I got to go with Fancy Feast or something. Don't assume that, because Hills especially has done a lot of work, and so have the other two, with palatability. It's called EAT technology. And here's where the marketing people, EAT technology, EAT, enhanced appetite trigger. But it was, I made fun of it when I first saw it. This is probably, it's got to be about 8 years maybe now with COVID and everything. But the canned food is pretty palatable, but dry wasn't. And again, whether you like it or not, a lot of cat owners are just going to feed dry economically, or they just want to, or just the cat refuses to eat canned. So that's a problem when they won't eat the dry food. And EAT technology, what Hills did, I don't want to get too much into it, but they said, you know what? Most palatability tests on renal diets are done on healthy cats. Okay, and it doesn't matter what brand, that's generally what they do. Well, come on, it's real easy to get a healthy, happy cat to eat just about anything, right? Or at least, they feel good, they want to eat, most of them. You've got a cat in uremic crisis that's just feeling awful and doesn't want to touch food. You can't say that, oh, take those cats and try to get them to eat. And that's what Hills did. And I think it was over about 4 years. They learned a couple of things. One, they looked at all the different flavors that a cat would eat that was in uremic crisis. Very different than a happy, healthy cat. Just like you and I, we're happy and healthy tonight. We want to eat just about anything. We're ready to go. Okay. Now we have the flu. Okay. What do we want to eat? Probably really limited to just a few things, if anything. Okay. That's what they did with cats. They also looked at aromas because they might, just like my wife with the coffee aroma, that can be critical as well. But the third thing they looked at, which I thought was the most interesting, and it makes total sense once you hear it. Okay, here's a list of ingredients that cats like, even if they're in uremic crisis, even if they're feeling lousy, most cats will eat this list of ingredients. You know what, though? If you take this ingredient and that ingredient and combine them, they're not going to eat it. Well, what's that all about? It's just like Dr. Beth, one of my colleagues, used to say all the time, I love spaghetti, I love orange juice, but I don't like orange juice on my spaghetti, right? I used to use ketchup in scrambled eggs. Ketchup on hamburgers, ketchup on even hot dogs, I'm all good with, okay? Ketchup on French fries. Ketchup on scrambled eggs is so gross to me. I mean, it looks like, yeah, it just bloody something. I don't know. It just, I can't even watch it. Um, but there you go. I love scrambled eggs. I love eggs and I love ketchup. I sure don't want ketchup on my eggs. So that's what they learned, that not only here's this list, we've got to make sure we're matching them up so that the cat will actually eat it. So that was the eat technology that went into feline KD and canine KD as well. And the results were really great. The percentage of calories intake that the cats would consume, not because it was more calories in the food, it wasn't more energy dense, it was just more palatable. That is so critical for a renal cat. So whether you want to go with Hills, Maruva, all the other low phosphorus foods out there, that's totally up to you. I'm not even getting into that now. Like I said, I'll try to remember to put the description of KD on here so at least you can see what a renal diet looks like if you're not familiar. But this is more about whatever it is you choose, don't feed it first. Feed something else, get them stable, get them feeling a little better, okay, through fluids, through meds, whatever. But then you want to go ahead and feed the food that you want to feed long term. And the great news is that there are many options out there, and there's stuff that I'm not even that familiar with, medications and some other supplements and things that don't ask me about. I can't help you. I can only help you with the therapeutic nutrition part of it. But there's so many options to, if you catch that renal disease early enough, stage 2, especially stage 3, you might have your cat for years. Okay, don't give up. Don't let their finickiness get you down. Just keep trying. Again, within the big 3, within their renal range of diets, there's got to be about a dozen you could try, and they're all money back guarantee. The vet can get their money back, so they can give you their money back. Chewy is great that way too. There's some over-the-counter ones. I mentioned a few of them already, but there are others. So just keep at it. You got to get that cat eating, but don't fall prey to that idea. Well, let them eat anything then. If it gets that bad, sure, but you're don't exhaust trying to get them to eat something that's actually going to help reduce the overtaxing that's going on in those kidneys. They're already damaged. They're already compromised. To say, well, the only thing she'll eat is this. Yeah, maybe if she's in stage 4 and she's an 18-year-old cat and you get to a point where you just, let her just eat whatever she wants and enjoy the last, months or weeks of her life. I totally get that. I do believe that's valid, but work with your veterinarian to decide, well, if we're not there yet and we're still fighting the fight, let's find something that's pretty appropriate to reduce the workload on those kidneys that she'll eat. Okay. And that may not be exactly a renal diet, but again, there are diets out there that you can try. And again, many of them come with a money back guarantee. So I hope that's been helpful. If you are struggling with a cat with renal disease, I feel for you. I just read the posts from people and too often it's like, she passed over the Rainbow Bridge today or yesterday, whatever. But renal disease is not a death sentence, or it doesn't mean that they're gone tomorrow. There are things you can do. So again, get in the fight. Don't give up. and be aware of that food aversion thing. Okay. Thanks. We'll see you.